Hey everybody, hey, it's Chris from Charity Board Gamer.
I'm back.
Hey, and tonight we have, yes, it's nighttime, even though you're probably watching this at a different day. Yes, I know, this is not live stream. It's so strange, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she's going to have to really keep me reeled in, but luckily there's a thing called editing, which will make life so much easier, so much easier. But we've got the designer of a game that Beth really loves, and I enjoy it. It's called Merchants of Magic. So this is the one game where immediately after playing it, Beth said, can we play it again? That is very rare when it comes to that. Also, designer of Wolves, this is from Pandasaurus Games, and then also designer of Chomp, and then some other games we're going to talk about tonight, including the expansion to this sweet little thing. I'm excited because this is a modular expansion, which I'm very intrigued to hear more about. So, hello, Clarence Simpson.
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, thanks for coming on. So tell us just a little brief amount about who you are, and we'll go from there. And I want to know, what was your favorite childhood game growing up? Or what got you kind of into that kind of hobby and realm?
Sure.
Totally, yeah. I'm going to throw out weird questions. So.
Well, I mean, it might be a different question if you're talking about like childhood, because I wasn't into like modern hobby games at that point, but I did have board games, as a kid. I definitely remember playing stuff like the Milton Bradley Game Master, I think they called it, series, like Fortress America and stuff like that, or Axis and Allies, although I never actually played that one. But yeah, I had a bunch of good memories of playing that, like especially with my dad. And we played a lot of chess and stuff back then as well. That kind of, I guess, got me I would say like the like Fortress America was kind of on the way to modern hobby board gaming kind of stuff for me. But yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot the rest of your question.
No, you're good. You're good. So the main thing was like, what was one of those games that kind of got you enticed into saying, hey, I want to go into what kind of got you hooked to the board game hobby afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say so. As an adult, I kind of left board games behind for a while, and then as adult, I ended up getting a job in the video game industry, and met I had a coworker there who was super into modern Euro style board games, and I didn't know anything about them. I knew what was mostly in Walmart or whatever. And he introduced me to Carcassonne, which that was my first modern hobby board game, and that one just kind of blew my mind as to what a board game could even be. And around that same time, also a board game shop opened up across the street from my house. So this was like, I guess 2005-ish or so. And yeah, so then I dove deep into the hobby at that point. Was over at that shop a lot.
So you said video games, and now I got to hear this. What were you doing video game related?
I saw that's my main primary day job as a software engineer, and I've spent most of my career doing video games. So at the time, I was making PlayStation and Xbox games. And at the time there was like a PlayStation Portable, like handheld game. Funny enough, my first project that I worked on in video games was a video game adaptation of a tabletop game, which was the Versus System trading card game. So there's a game called the Marvel. It was branded as the Marvel trading card game that was available for PC and PSP. That I was one of the lead engineers on programming that. So that was a really fun experience. Even got to like program an AI for that, which means that I got to like learn a lot of stuff about the game. We actually had a consultant who was like this tournament player, kind of an expert in the strategy and stuff, and he taught me how to use like every card in the game. Like, here's when you should do this and that sort of stuff. So
I was gonna say, building an AI is no joke at all. That's an intense amount of work. I work IT as well, but I've never gone to that level. I've do some things with business intelligence, but
Right.
not
I mean,
not AI.
it's a different concept from what we're hearing about these days in AI. It was
Oh yeah.
more very complicated if then statements.
Oh yeah. If then else. Yep.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. SQL is my love language, so I very much
Okay.
understand
Yeah.
if thens quite a bit and triggers and everything of that nature. So very cool. Very cool. So the other thing I'm looking right now and I see a piano. I see keys.
Yeah. That's
So
true.
tell I've got to know about that. That's automatically because being a musician, I've got to know
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
going on with the piano.
I mean, I play piano, I play guitar. I For a couple years I was a semi-professional guitarist in a like top 40 cover band. So we were playing like weddings and festivals all up and down the East Coast from like I think Savannah, Georgia, all the way up to Manhattan. We played one gig in Manhattan, which was really crazy. Um, but yeah, so it was like a 7 person, show band just doing lots of funk and disco, just kind of dance party music. Um
How many times did people ask for you to play like Free Bird or um Sweet Home Alabama? I've got to ask because that's one
uh
thing that my friends and like hated with a passion getting asked to play Leonard Skinner all the time.
yeah, I
So
don't remember ever getting asked to play Freebird. I mean, we were like I said, primarily, funk and soul disco
mhm.
kind of band, so it was kind of a if you were hiring us, then you probably weren't as so much interested in Freebird. Although there was a time where we were playing Sweet Home Alabama for a while, and
Oh yeah.
it was a thing.
Yep. Around here, I think the big song that people ask for most of the time here and where we live now is what's that song? Country Roads.
Oh
But
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So
Take Me
it's
Home.
yeah. I'm like to the place where I belong, and I'm like, it's okay. I don't know, but I know I just said that somebody probably is watching this from the state right now, saying I can't believe this person. So yeah, sorry. It's a basic chord progression. It's just it's very simplistic. So no. So back to what we were talking about. See, this is my ADHD working, and this is going to be interesting later. So one of the things that we brought you on for is to talk, of course, about some of the things that you've got coming out. And as we're talking about it, as people are watching, I'm going to be having videos and clips of the actual sites. We're going to go to the Board Game Geek, of course, because the Board Game Geek's got almost everything. Love the people over there. But I want to first hear about this game, A Message from the Stars.
Yeah. So Message from the Stars is a game that's coming out from All Play, and it will be hitting Kickstarter next month, October. Um, and the idea is that you're playing where um, there's kind of two different modes you can play, but usually there's one alien character and then a bunch of scientist characters. And the idea is that these scientists are trying to communicate with the alien, and the alien's trying to communicate with the scientists, um, and communicate these messages by sending words across. The catch here is that certain letters of the alphabet make the alien angry. Certain letters of the alphabet make the alien like trust you more, and you don't know which is which. As the scientist, you don't know, but the alien player does. And so your job as the scientist is kind of to try and figure this out over time. So it's a cross between a word game and a logic puzzle,
Okay.
um, and it actually uses inductive logic, which, if you're familiar with games like Zendo, is probably the most popular example of inductive logic. The idea is that you're kind of like you're doing experiments, seeing what happens, and then trying to make some conclusions based on the results of those experiments, if that makes sense. Um, but to be more specific about the mechanics, I'll give you some ideas. Basically, the alien will have this player screen. Think of like Mysterium, for example, with some cards hidden behind the screen, and the cards are letters. So each game, the alien's going to deal out three letters that will be called trust letters, two letters that are called amplify letters and one letter that's called a suspicious letter. And so what's going to happen is as these words get sent back and forth between the scientist and the alien is then going to calculate a reaction value, a number, based on the letters that the word is made of. So every time there's a trust letter in there, that'll be plus 1 point to that value. If anytime there's an amplify letter in there, it will double the value. And anytime if there's a suspicious letter in there, then it makes the value negative. So, you might say the word potato, and then the alien will say, okay, my reaction value to that is -3. And then you have to start doing some logical work there to figure out which letters could have possibly been behind that screen to result in a value of -3. Does that
I
sort of
like
make
that.
sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's something that we played recently, Sides, which was by, I forget who the people were that were playing with. We were playing a game that kind of had that kind of feel where you were trying to figure out percentage wise, okay, what's closer to the word or what's closer to the clue. I like that idea. I especially like the idea that it's this is cooperative, correct?
So there's two modes. There's a cooperative mode
Okay.
where there's one alien and then everybody else is a scientist, and there's also a teams mode where there's two aliens and two teams of scientists.
Okay.
So you can do it
Nice.
either way.
How many players is that going to be? Because that sounds like a team thing. It's what, 8 players? Is that
Yeah,
right?
on the box, I believe it's going to be written as like 2 to 8 players is going to be the official player count. Although I think that, if you really wanted to, you could play this with like a classroom full of people.
I like that
Right?
idea.
It's just the only kind of thing that's iffy about it is like somebody has to be the one to be like, okay, here's what we're gonna say, here's the decision. But
Yeah.
the entire classroom can participate and work out the puzzles on their own sheet of paper or whatever, talk about it, all that kind of stuff.
I like that idea because I mean, don't get me wrong, an English class can be okay, but I mean to have something a little bit fun to just kind of work out the nerves and just interact with your fellow classmates who sometimes you aren't really interacting with. Most schools, I remember for me to do anything interacting with kids, I was such an introvert. Um, she finds that hilarious, but I was an introvert, and so like the idea of interacting and feeling comfortable in my own skin was one of those things that's hard. So like playing a game like this though just seems like something fun where I think I would get myself a little bit more out of my shell. Not to an extent where it would be uncomfortable though. That's the thing I like. So yeah.
Classroom games are good.
Yeah, classroom games are wonderful. I love the idea when publishers have games that people can bring into classrooms. I mean, one of the big things we love the Spiel Foundation, which has done stuff where they've sent board games to actual classrooms, and some of those some publishers have actually sent games as well that involve deduction, which is great for teaching kids to kind of figure out logic and everything, which logic's not something that is always taught. So yeah, but no, I like it a lot. That sounds really cool. Now tell me more about this other game though, because this is the one where I mean, I'm super intrigued about the idea of there being modules, let alone the fact that potions have more weight in this expansion, and that's the expansion to Merchants of Magic.
Right. Yeah, so the expansion for Merchants of Magic is called Dangerous Business. And that's going to be going to Kickstarter from Rock Manor again in October. Early October, I want to say October 5th. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's right. But yeah, so the idea is just to add some new variety to the game, make it not necessarily feel like the same thing every time. And so one of the ways we do that is I'll just kind of like give you a quick overview of all the different modules in the game. So first of all, we have the potions module, which you kind of already mentioned. The idea with that is that there's going to be these different recipes that are available to the players, and the recipes you'll you'll have a set of recipes kind of in the well, there's a new central board for this expansion that's going to be used a lot for the different modules. So you'll have a set of recipes out on this central board, uh, and then there's going to be a new kind of before you start all of your rolling and writing, there's a new kind of action selection phase that'll happen. So everybody's going to have these action cards where you're going to do a simultaneous reveal, and then you'll get to do something like get a potion for free or get one of these recipe cards, for example. And so the recipe cards, what they are is a way for you to do a special power if you have a certain combination of the potion colors. So there's 3 color potions that were in the base game, but the colors were meaningless. And so one of the things we want to do with the expansion was make that matter. So like if you have a red and purple potion, it might make it so that you can maximize one of your dice. What that would mean is like on the D10, just treat it as if a 10 was rolled. And you spend those potions, and then you spend that recipe card. It goes back into the center if you do that. And then each recipe is also tied to one of the 8 enchantments in the game, like the of the dragons or the fiery or whatever. So it's like the fiery elixir is obviously tied to the fiery enchantment, and that matters because if you have that particular enchantment completed, it's easier for you to use that recipe. You can actually use any color potion. You don't need the exact color potions if you have the enchantment. So that's another kind of little twist there. So that's the potions module. Another module that we have in there is I forget what we're calling it. I think it's either the creatures module or the monsters module. The idea is that in the original game, you had the 8 different kind of little sponsored adventure cards that were looking for the matching sets of items. And we've expanded that now with 8 new adventurer sponsored adventure boards, where it's the same idea. Each adventurer has like a preferred enchantment they're trying to create, but you have a lot more freedom in terms of what kind of equipment you can give to them. So each type of equipment that you make for them, each magic item that you make for them, will give them a certain amount of combat value that's listed on their player board. And so it also comes with these little dials that let you track your the adventurer's combat value. Also, at the beginning of a game, what you'll end up doing is dealing out a couple random monsters to be attacking your town this game. So there'll be a level 1, level 2, level 3 monster, and then a unhallowed boss monster as well. And so each of those will have a strength value, which is basically to defeat that monster, your adventurer has to have a combat value greater than or equal to their strength value. And then each monster has a some sort of reward attached to it for defeating it. So it might be something as simple as like, gain 2 potions, or it might be some victory points, some coins, or it might be some kind of special power like reorder the cards that are in front of you, or
Can you
some
mess with somebody else's cards?
So there is generally no. That
Okay.
was never something you could do in the base game, but
Mhm.
that was also kind of a semi-common request
Mhm.
for more player interaction. So there's one thing that we did add to the game, which remind me, and I'll bring that up later.
Yeah.
But in
Okay.
general, no, you don't mess with other players' cards. But yeah, so the monsters, again, every time you deal out a new set of monsters, it'll be a new set of kind of bonuses and abilities for that game. So that will hopefully give you a lot of more game to game variety. And this will all replace the original sponsored adventure effects, which was just gain some potions, then fill in any circle, fill in any circle. Those were the original 3. So now this is replaced by a different set of abilities every time you play. Okay, so that's the creatures module. Now, since you just mentioned it, another thing that we did add as an action that you can choose to do during this new action selection phase is an entice action, which will cost you 3 potions to do, but lets you effectively steal somebody else's order from their shop and bring it into yours. This is an optional thing. Some people are going to hate this, and so you don't have to play with it at all. But the people who
No,
do
no,
want it,
you will play with it. Gosh, you will play with it.
um, so yeah, so that's something that you'll now be able to. There's a new concept kind of related to that called reserving an order, where you'll be able to sometimes take an order and put it in your shop kind of off to the side with a little guild token on it, which means that they're now in your shop permanently and nobody else can mess with them. So they're not going to rotate around the table anymore. So when you entice somebody from another a customer from another shop, you're reserving them, putting a guild token on them. Nobody else can touch them. But if you don't complete that by the end of the game, they're -2 coins. So
Ooh,
you want to make
okay.
sure that you can complete something before doing that.
I like that. I like that.
Uh, yeah. And then there's also, what am I forgetting? There's some new, we're calling them collector order cards, which are customers that are looking for sets of 2 matching items. So like if you remember in the base game, there were kind of these basic orders with like an item and 1 enchantment, and then there was some more like tougher orders that had 2 enchantments. And now we're having these collector orders, which are 2 items but 1 enchantment. So like the helmet and greaves of the dragons, for example. So that gives you a little more variety there. And then also we have a new advertising module that you can do, where you can take all of these advanced orders, which are either 2 items or 2 enchantments, and now you put those in a separate deck. And so this separate deck of advanced items, which are also the most valuable items, goes into the central board, and you deal out a market of 4 of these advanced orders. And then during the actions selection phase that I mentioned, one of the actions you can choose is an advertise action, which is essentially you're advertising to these special customers in the center of the board to reserve them to your shop with a potion cost associated with it. There's like a waterfall kind of effect where they slide down and then get cheaper over time, that sort of thing. But that's also to address one of the common complaints with the original game, where you could potentially like luck into really high value items, especially towards the end of the game.
Mhm.
So now all of the high value items are in the center of the board, and you have to, work for them, so to speak. Um, and so hopefully that addresses some of those player complaints. What else? There's also a new solo AI for the game, which is I mean the original game did have a solo mode, but this one is a little more I guess advanced, right? To feel more like you're playing against a player.
Mhm.
It's not super complicated or anything, but it's just kind of another way you can play the game. Um, I think that might cover it.
That's a lot. That's, I mean,
Like a whole nother game.
yeah, it seriously feels like it. Well, the thing I liked about it, like I watched one of the videos from Gen Con, and what I liked was I saw this board in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool, because I like that idea that sometimes when you're playing a game, it can get really cluttered, or you don't know how to organize, how you don't know how, yeah, and you don't always know how to properly organize it to make it as efficient. And sometimes it takes those player boards or those mats to make it just more comfortable. I think is one of the
For
things.
me, usually I don't know that I needed a player board or a mat until I see it, and then I have to have it. So
Yeah. Yeah, which luckily this is a later in development of our board game hobby that this is happening, because yeah, I think it's wild. Just I think it really does enhance a game, being able to have something that helps you with that organization aspect
Mm-hmm.
of it, because just the idea of, okay, this is going to go here, this is going to go there. And I do like the idea that the higher priced items are going to be like in the middle. And so they're less likely to be, like you said, it's not all luck based at that point, where I guess that's the thing. So was this something that you were already working on even back when you were first working on Merchants of Magic, or was this all stuff that that came after the game? Because I know sometimes designers have games where they work on, and then they've got other things that maybe don't get added until maybe later in some of those type of things. So I'm
Right.
curious.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, I didn't have any of these ideas originally when we did the original Merchants of Magic. It was only kind of I guess within maybe 6 months or so after the retail release, when we were seeing kind of how well it was doing in retail, that Mike from Rock Manor had talked to me about doing an expansion, asked me to storm some stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of at that point I started going through all these different ideas, and had a lot of kind of small systems that I thought could be, modular, plug and play, whatever you want, as little or as much as you wanted. So that's kind of where we ended up with this whole thing.
Yeah, like the options.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is the modules don't seem like, if you put them together, that it would be overwhelming. I know some things, like there's even some games that we've played where it's like chapter and chapter, and once you add all the chapters, you're like, it's too much. But no, I like the idea of especially the fact that there's a chance that I can have a little bit of take that with Beth, because
Right.
it's needed, right? Right?
You like that fast.
Yeah, I have more of a chance and take that game sometimes. Not as much, but still, it feels good. It feels good when I do.
And there's a little bit of that also with the competition for stuff in the central board as well, right? Because there's kind of an implied, it's not quite take that, but there's definitely going to be some moments of interaction where you're like, oh, I can't believe you just took that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna love that.
He's a chaotic player.
I am
So
very chaotic.
if he could just mess with someone.
She's got structure. No matter what it comes to, she is very structured in her game. She has a strategy. I basically just am like, I'll do this, and then I'll just kind of go off of that. Strategy be darned. That's kind of how it goes. And then if I win, it's just by happenstance. I think that's really how it works. So, but I think it's made it easier for me, like when I'm teaching games too, that I can teach the strategy, I can teach it from beginning to end, and I can teach the end goal, but I play it in such a way that's like, what is this guy doing? And like, I'm just trying out new things and saying, okay, will this improve on how well I do? And usually the case is no, but it works. It works. Was it 90% of the time? It works all the time, or I think is what was that? No, you haven't. She's not a fan of Anchorman. Never mind. No. So craziness. So the other thing that we were going to talk about tonight, one of the things that we of course bring designers and publishers and friends in the community on to talk about is a nonprofit, and one that you were wanting to talk about tonight is the Rose Gauntlet Foundation. I would love to hear what made you choose this one.
Sure. Yeah. So Rose Gauntlet Foundation is the nonprofit arm of Rose Gauntlet Entertainment, which, if you're not familiar with that, that is a new-ish publisher founded by Isaac Vega and Lindsay Rode. Isaac Vega is of Dead of Winter fame and lots of other plaid hat games. And so the Rose Gauntlet Foundation is their, like I said, nonprofit arm that does these. Their mission is to kind of promote diversity in the tabletop games industry, and amplify voices of underrepresented groups as well. And so part of the way they do that is by having a couple different programs at various different major gaming conventions in the US. So they've got 3 main programs that they're doing right now. The first one is Game Changers. This is a program that happens during Origins and is focused on women in the games industry, and providing them with networking opportunities and resources. The next one is the BIPOC Lounge, which happens at Gen Con. And this is where BIPOC industry professionals can hang out and network and stuff as well. And then finally, they have the big gay dinner at PAX Unplugged, which is again, similar kind of a networking safe space event for the LGBTQ community as well. Yeah, so I mean, this is, as far as my understanding goes, a pretty new nonprofit, although I think they have been doing these events for a while. It's just a little more formalized now. And yeah, I mean, this one, I wanted to pick this nonprofit in particular just because it has some personal meaning to me. So my wife is Black, and my tabletop gaming group that has been meeting in my house for over 10 years is predominantly Black. And they, we all love each other. We always have a great time over here, and everybody feels good and safe over here. But there's been times where I've, taken some of them to like even small local gaming conventions, and they'll be, the only brown person in the room, and just not feel great about that. And things have gotten a lot better in recent years, but it's still something that needs work. And so this one has a special place in my heart for their mission and what they're trying to do.
No, I think it's amazing what they're doing. The fact that I love their logo for it too, where it's just all different hands of all different cultures, and it's all in the shape of a heart with the rose gauntlet at the very bottom. And it's just beautiful. It is a perfect example of what they're doing, which is definitely uniting a community and making a safe space, especially the inclusivity. I love the BIPOC Lounge at Gen Con. We went in there. One of my favorite things is getting to see Danny Kwok. I mean, he lights up the room anytime you get to give him a hug. And so like just being able to experience and see that kind of thing. And then I remember, was it 2021 PAX U? We were having our meetup that we were doing, and a lot of people were coming from the big gay dinner, and they had a blast, and they're telling me about it. I'm like, I want to go to this thing. It sounds amazing. It sounds like so much fun. And it's really cool to see the community show love and show respect. And I think that's something that we in a board game hobby, like you said, it doesn't happen everywhere. We see it more at conventions because we're seeing our friends, we're seeing basically what we call our second family almost. But just being able to see what Rose Gauntlet is doing, it's just amazing. I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, the fact, like, just reading some of the stuff on here right now and seeing some of the faces, like you see, so of course you see Danny on here, you see Mandy on here, and then of course this Game Changers thing. That's really cool. That image is just from this past Origins, which is really neat. Just kind of see it. You see Olivia in there, you see Monique, and it's just it's nice because you're seeing faces that you love to see, and they're smiling. That's the biggest thing that I like to see. I like to see a smile because it tells me that there's comfort, there's safety, there's security. And that's something that I completely agree. Rose Gauntlet is making a safe space and making a secure space and actually making a positive impact in our board game community as well as the industry. And I think it's great. And I think your reasons for bringing them up tonight, I love it. I love the fact that you have a heart for this. So that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have any questions? Because I know I talked way too much.
This is what you do.
I know this is what I do.
You do the talking.
Do you have any questions about your games or anything of any nature? No? Okay. Well, craziness.
I like listening in.
All right. See, I told you this is a new experience. Trying it with. Sometimes, like, the one thing, like, I know is, like, sometimes when Justin will be on and we're doing interviews, he actually will write out my script and he will keep me on track.
Not a bad idea. Thanks.
Yeah, I know. Thanks, beautiful. Thanks.
Now I know what to do.
Yeah. He seriously does.
It's not a bad idea for you.
No, But Clarence, it's been a joy having you. I
Yeah.
cannot wait. October 5th, of course, is Beth's birthday. And what's
Oh,
nice about that
that's incredible.
is that is the day that the expansion is going to be hitting crowdfunding. And so if you're going to go on there, take a look. Also, you can get, if you were going to get a copy of Merchants of Magic right now, we're going to have a link down below where you can actually click on both to the Kickstarter as well as click onto the retail page. I think this is selling for $30 right now on the website. But you can also get it when it crowdfunds, and you can order this along with the expansion, which I recommend, because this game, like I said, this is one of the games where Beth immediately afterwards said, and I'm covering your head, I realize this.
Right.
It's like, this is the one game where Beth said immediately after we played it for the first time, she wanted to play it immediately again. And that's a big deal. That is a big deal when it comes to playing games, because we have so many. It's been a blessing to be able to just play a game that she likes. And I think Mother's Day, we played this Mother's Day last year because that was the requested game. That was the game. So yeah. So thank you very much, Clarence. Folks, check it out. Check out those links. I'm going to put them all down below. Make it a point to check out the Board Game Geek page, and be sure to click on that notify me on launch for the crowdfundings. So that way, when Kickstarter goes live, you're in the know. You can go ahead and back it and support an awesome person. So yeah, Clarence, thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And folks, we're going to head on out. Remember, if we can gather at the table, we can do the same for a good cause. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, cool. And that's what it is. Dude,
Nice.
I love.
Hey, thanks for watching our video.
If you like what you saw here, go ahead and hit that little like, subscribe, the little bell thingamabobber, you know the thing. And watch some of our videos. Maybe one that's maybe up here, or maybe down there, or over there, or down there. I don't know where they are, but thank you all. Remember, when we can gather at the table, we can do the same for a good cause. Bye.
Bye.